what's going on, guys? Thought I wanted to share a little bit here. So I have two things I wanted to share. One of them is about what you could call, I guess, the changes that are happening to society on a macro level, and also what is happening to one's cognitions and mental health, and you can say a cognitive level, on a personal level, in terms of like how to deal with COVID-19. So there's an article by Veronica Tate, who's a PhD. She's a social psychologist who works out of Utah, and she works at two universities in Utah. And so she has basically a article written in a journal, or not a journal, just like a article in a website called Psychology Today. And Psychology Today, I take a lot of like information. I mean, I trust it as a source for psychology, and I think a lot of people do. So what Miss Tate writes here, I mean, it's not too long of an article. I'm going to just go ahead and read it verbatim here for you guys. Missing Life Before COVID-19, You're Not Alone, by Veronica Tate, PhD. Allowing for Grief Without Toxic Positivity and Comparative Suffering. In the 1946 film, It's a Wonderful Life, family man George Bailey is struggling and feels there is no way out of his problems. After finding out he owes large sums of money, George contemplates ending his life. With the help of his guardian angel Clarence, he is given a chance to see what the world would be like if he had never been born. George discovers that without him, things are even grimmer. The community is crumbling under the oppressive Mr. Potter, and his family is in shambles. As Clarence returns George to his life, he feels renewed gratitude, thankful for the chance to start again with a new perspective. With the new struggles that accompany the current coronavirus pandemic, many of us find ourselves longing for the normal lives we take for granted. Yes, we had problems in the past, but now we are faced with new and uncertain challenges. We wish we could trade back. Right? We wish we could tread back. Like George Bailey, we yearn to go back to the ordinary with a greater appreciation for the day-to-day predictability we've lost. Unfortunately, we have no guardian angel to reverse the economic, social, and psychological destruction of COVID-19. Life may never go back to the way it was. As grief expert David Kessler said, we are dealing with the collective loss of the world we knew. I don't know how this is going to change, but it will. We're going to find meaning. We're going to come out the other side of this. But this world that we've all been accustomed to is now gone. Some of that it wasn't a full quote. Part of it was an ellipsis. The ellipsis was from we're going to come the other side of this. I don't think anyone really cares. The point is, it's not a full quote. She goes on to say, we are each facing losses, whether it's missing our child's preschool graduation, losing our place of worship, struggling to pay rent, or saying goodbye to a loved one. Stop the toxic positivity. It's okay to not be okay. Let's allow ourselves to feel the losses, whether big or small. Many messages have been shared on social media, such as positive vibes only, are uninviting to a full range of human emotions. Telling someone to simply have happy thoughts, get over it, or look on the bright side can be dismissive of the genuine pain others are feeling. Though many are meant to be uplifting and encouraging, they often have the opposite effect. This type of positivity is toxic. Stifling negative emotions doesn't make them go away. In fact, suppressing them often gives them more power over us. Those who bottle up emotions have an increased risk of cancer, premature death, and a host of other problems. Simply labeling emotions such as sadness, anger, and fear can make them less intense. More helpful responses to to those in distress would be, things can really be tough, I'm here for you, or sometimes we experience bad things, how can I support you? There's no winner in comparative suffering. One becomes, one bummer to allow ourselves. One barrier to allowing ourselves to grieve over our current losses is that shame often takes over. I, for one, have faced myself grieving lost access to the gym. I could walk the track and listen to audiobooks while getting a much needed break from my small children. When I begin missing the old days, I often feel terrible at my own ingratitude, knowing others are experiencing more distressing problems such as losing a business, life partner, or a dream wedding ceremony. This is comparative suffering. This comparative suffering is never helpful and can lead us to dismiss our own experiences. Vulnerability researcher Brene Brown, I think her name's Renee Brown, I think she misspelled it, Brene Brown, articulated this nicely when she said, without thinking, we start to rank our suffering and use it to deny or give ourselves permission to feel. But this is not how emotion or affect works. Emotions do not go away because we send them a message that these feelings are inappropriate and do not scale high enough on the suffering board. The entire myth of comparison suffering is the belief that empathy is finite. False. When we practice empathy with ourselves and others, we create more empathy. So she goes on to say, not Miss Renee, the article's author, let's be conscious that we do not minimize the pain of others, such as our children, who may be experiencing some of the largest losses they have ever experienced. For example, your son missed a soccer game may sound trivial compared to the losses of others, but it can still feel devastating for him. Grieve in your own way. Once we've recognized toxic positivity for the parasite that it is and have allowed ourselves to feel grief and loss, we can express it in our own way. Kessler writes, each person's grief is as unique as their fingerprint. But what everyone has in common is that no matter how they grieve, they share a need for their grief to be witnessed. He notes that this doesn't mean having someone reframe it or point out a silver lining, but being fully present in the enormity of their loss. Just as we can allow ourselves to feel negative emotions, we can withhold judgment on how others manifest their grief and loss. Grief can aid in finding meaning. While grief is never an emotion we actively seek to experience, it may propel us to find more meaning in our lives. Kessler, with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, described the well-known concept of stages of grief. After Kessler lost his young adult son, he decided to propose a new stage, finding meaning. In his book, Finding Meaning, The Sixth Stage of Growth, Kessler writes, your loss is not a test, a lesson, something to handle, a gift, or a blessing. Loss is simply what happens to you in life. Meaning is what you make happen. Meaning is not a stage to rush to in order to bypass pain. If you can't feel it, you can't heal it. Kessler has said, however, we can be grateful for the experiences we are able to have, such as being with loved ones before social distancing, without being grateful for the pandemic. We can cherish any new opportunities that have come from our new circumstances while still missing a past life that will never be again. In the wake of the current pandemic, our collective loss requires collective healing. Like George Bailey, we see ourselves confronting a world we don't recognize. Yet his real heroism was not returning to his former life, but in recognizing the value of what he had. Let's hold space for each other's grief. Stop toxic positivity. Stop comparison. Let's fill the need. Let's fill the need gaps we see around us as we seek to fulfill our own needs. This pandemic is likely long-lasting with some permanent societal scars. The only way to pull through this is together. Okay, so basically that was the article verbatim from her, and you know, it makes a lot of sense to me. Like, I don't want to comment on it too much, so I'll just leave it at that. Second thing I wanted to talk about was a bit more difficult for me, and this is a Reddit post I made this morning. I basically said that I'm a gay Muslim who is considering leaving, and I posted it on the atheist subreddit of Reddit. It's still there. It's very popular. It got about 40 comments, and, you know, a lot of them were, you could say, well thought out, and people were empathetic and understanding what I was saying. So I'm going to read them for you guys now, because I think it would be very, very interesting. So the post I went and said is, I'm a gay Muslim who is considering leaving. The biggest and what seems to me the only gripe I have with Muslims is their utter rejection of the LGBTQ community. I should have seen this coming. I was agnostic and embraced Islam, thinking it was okay to be gay. I watched a YouTube clip about this LGBTQ activist, Irshad Manji, and it assured me that gays had a place in Islam. Not until I met this respected sheikh that he quickly shot me down, saying, "She's not a Muslim." He was right, from a Muslim point of view. Well, I continue to be part of a group of people who continually reject me. So as of, you know, and while I was copying all this out, there's like 3 or 4 more comments. So as of when I was writing this, it was 40 upvotes and 26 comments. So the most, I mean, obviously you can make your comments if you want as well about this, you know, atheist, Muslim, gay, what should I be? You know, am I turning my back on religion? Am I doing what's right? So the most popular comment, all right, the most popular one here that got 27 upvotes was, this person quoted me saying, I watched the YouTube clip, and then there was some ellipsis, so he didn't quote the whole thing, and then it said, and it assured me that gays had a place in Islam. So he writes to me, I'm sorry you were lied to. And then he quotes me again saying, why continue to be a part of a group of people who continually reject me? And he replied to that and said to me, you shouldn't. Second post had 17 upvotes, said, the only gripe I have, so they're quoting me again, is the only gripe I have with Muslims is their rejection of the LGBTQ community. So are you okay? So they're asking me now, so are you okay with barbaric punishments as a rule? And then they go on to say, like, and total misogyny, 50% of the population are second-class citizens at best. That's all okay, though, because it doesn't really affect the original poster. And so that got 12 upvotes, that basically comment thread. I'm not going to sit here and defend Islam and talk about how it's so great and modern and everything. That's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to simply say verbatim this Reddit to help just elucidate my thoughts more and to help me perhaps come up with some better answers. I mean, there's a lot of scary stuff in here. There's a lot of stuff in here that makes me want to, like, feel like, whoa. I mean, I don't agree with all of it. It's obviously in the atheism subreddit. I mean, I wouldn't agree with an atheism subreddit. Same time, I chose to post it there because I'm thinking about becoming an atheist. That's basically, I mean, that's the first time I actually said it out loud. It's a bit liberating. Anyway, So I don't want to get into like all the barbaric punishments about LGBT community and all of that misogyny. I'm sure people can make up their own minds about that. I mean, this isn't a channel about how great Islam is or how bad other religions are. This is a psychology channel. So third comment, 15 upvotes, or 15, perhaps 13, I can't really read my writing, says, just like every other religion, Islam is nonsense which has no place in the modern world. Hatred towards LGBTQ is just a small part of that nonsense. Just do your best to stay safe and be careful who you come out to. Interesting, very interesting. Next comment is, we have one here, the next most popular one, 15 upvotes, also as well, saying, also the Allah stuff isn't real if that matters to you. So, hold on, I'm just gonna smoke a joint here. Enjoy marijuana while I'm being a heathen. That's a joke, and then I'm being too serious. I really am. Having said that, this is a legitimate thought that I need to deal with. It can't just go away, like, you know. So, very conflicted, very, very conflicted. Anyway, this thought here, 15 upvotes. Also, the Allah stuff isn't real if that matters to you. I mean, at the time of writing it, it didn't matter to me. Moving on. I mean, it's Reddit atheism. So someone else commented to that comment saying, it's Reddit atheism, not Reddit skepticism. It's fine to stop believing things because those things disagree with you. Just like in Reddit theism, it's fine to believe in things that you agree with. And then he says, because, in italics, you like how they sound. Fifth most popular comment says, people who say gays have a place in Islam are pariahs themselves and usually comfortably live in urban areas in Europe or the US. This really got to me. Practicing some sort of progressive strain of Islam by their own. You really shouldn't be listening to them if you're really interested in Muslim attitudes towards homosexuality. And then he says in italics, in the real world, there is no shortage of people who do exactly that and then get disillusioned, imprisoned in their own conservative countries, right? So, you know, yeah, I mean, and so those are the most, I say, popular ones. The rest of them basically got 0 to 2 upvotes. I mean, I'm still going to say them. Here's another one, a reply here, 0 upvotes, quoting me saying, there's no shortage, right? I'm sorry, quoting the person above saying there's no shortage, right, of people who did exactly that and then got disillusioned, imprisoned in their own conservative countries. You forgot to mention Islam's favorite killing, usually by stoning or being thrown off a tall building and then stoned after you land. Yeah, you're right. So you get where I'm coming from here, right? They're basically saying stuff like that. And then so the next one is, God hates gays in pretty much every major religion. I don't know why you would even define yourself as Muslim, since the book, right, defines you as a sinner and non-Muslim. I got 0 upvotes. 1 second, guys. Let's smoke some weed here. Sixth best comment here was, the only gripe, so they're quoting me again, the only gripe I have with Muslims, right? And then he goes on to say, almost sounds like you treat religion like a social club. The people who call it their religion actually believe the stuff is real. Apostrophe. You claim to have been agnostic, but not Muslim. Do you have any evidence that convince you the rest, other than the homophobic issue, is believable? That got 6 upvotes. 7th comment, gays had a place in Islam, quoting me again. And saying, I guess being on the other end of a flying stone is technically a place, quote unquote. Maybe in very Western progressive countries, being a gay Muslim wouldn't be terrible, but if you end up around fundamentalist Muslims, I would feel pretty unsafe. If I was gay, gay Christians still occasionally get murdered for being gay in the US, quote unquote. I couldn't imagine what it would be like for a gay Muslim. I would live in constant fear. And that gave 4 upvotes. 8th comment here, or 8th best comment here, is, so you still believe it's all true, but don't want to be a part of it because they don't like you. I don't know that we can help you if you take that position. 4 upvotes. 9th most popular comment, did you actually read the Quran before becoming Muslim? That was 3 upvotes. And I said no, and that was given 1 upvote. And then someone commented about that saying, well, there's your problem. You didn't read the specs before you bought the product. You just read 1 review out of thousands. Give me a... And then they gave me a link for something called the Skeptics Annotated Bible. They also have Skeptic and another... it's like a website called the Skeptics Annotated Bible that also has a subsection for the Quran. I guess it's also called the Skeptics Annotated Quran. And so the 10th best 10th best comment was, yes, why? Very nice for my question. And that gave me 2 upvotes. Or that Reddit people, the subreddit, gave them 2 upvotes. Number 11, why continue to be part of a group of people who continually reject me? Quoting me again, and then saying, there is no reason. I think you'll be fine without religion, but I don't know what your family would think about that decision. I wish you the best, and I hope you'll get along with your family. And that was given 2 upvotes. Alright. 12th best, I guess, comment. So you adopted a worldview based on a YouTube video, then you're considering ditching it because some priest rejected you. Might I suggest maybe adopting a worldview because it seems to be supported by evidence, because I don't think your current methods are particularly reliable. That was given 2 upvotes. 13th best comment here. How a religion treats a certain group should not in and of itself lead you to any religion or atheism. What should matter is whether or not it's true. Now, if that evaluation should examine how it treats groups, and if that is consistent with its tenets, that's one thing. But what should lead you to atheism is being unconcerned, is being unconvinced there's a God, no less, no more. So I was given 2 upvotes. So you can see the tone. A lot of these are, I don't know how to frame it, so I won't. At number 14 here. I have a close relative that is gay. Back when I was still a Muslim, I went to an imam more than 15 years ago, who I know have relatively quote-unquote modern mentality. I asked him what Islam said about gay people. His answer stuck into my mind to this date. On this subject, the Islamic position is very clear, and then he puts all of this in italics on this subject. The Islamic position is very clear. Those who act upon their homosexuality must be killed by throwing them from a tall building. I left shocked, and never talked about that subject with any Muslim. What do you think? What is more probable? This mentality is the mentality of some 7th century Arabia men, or the teaching of an all-knowing, merciful God that created homosexuality? Give me 2 upvotes. So the next one here is the 15th best comment, as you can see here. It's basically quoting me saying, the biggest and what seems to me to be the only gripe I have with Muslims is their utter rejection of the LGBTQ community. And then they reply to that comment, to my quote is, well, don't forget the part shared with all the other religious mythologies where they believe in unsupported, contradictory, and often demonstrably incorrect things, which isn't rational, so must be avoided by anyone wanting to be intellectually honest. And that was given 0 upvotes. One second here. th best comment. Consider learning what the planet, because you are a target. I am not saying this to be an asshole. You're part of the wrong religion to try and learn, leave it, or be gay. Truly sorry for you. 0 upvotes. 17th best comment, is they think you have a place as long as you repress who you are, your basic needs and feelings, and stay alone and miserable. Islam has the most fanatics. Christianity has anti-gay component too. They're both Abrahamic religions obsessed with procreation. But today Christians are far more secular, and then there's always the message of Jesus not judging. Muslims are much more bigoted and fundamentalist. Also, really, why do you feel the need to follow a religion? Just believe in God or become a Buddhist. LOL. That had 0 upvotes. 18th and last comment here was a Muslim with the number of the devil in his nickname. Right. Alright, assuming that you're not trolling us, you should have known that all Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, reject homosexuality, and it's a major sin that caused the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah in the Torah, the Jewish book which Christianity and Islam are based upon. In Islam especially, it's called liwat, and it's frowned upon by the majority of Muslims. Anyone who tells you otherwise is a liar. Also, learn to think for yourself. Don't let others do the thinking or on behalf of you. Like, I became a Muslim because a YouTube video told me so. I became an atheist because someone on Reddit told me so. That has 0 upvotes. And then there was a comment thread virtually commenting on that from I guess someone else saying, according to the Bible, and that was in italics, the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was not homosexuality, but pride, selfishness, and inhospitability. And that was in Ezekiel 16:49-50. And that's basically verbatim what was written. And so, I mean, that's what I wanted to get across in this video. I mean, I'm definitely having trouble with this thinking error. Well, not a thinking error, with this thought that I have with me, which is Islam is good for me. I don't know exactly how to, express that fully, truly. It's a hard thought to actually deal with, and it's one that causes me anxiety. So I don't want to comment on this video so much as just leave it there for people to learn from. As I said, I won't be doing my exposures unless they are in the double digits as of right now. I'll still be doing them, just not on camera. I did eat today, so I did have some McDonald's, and I'm trying to eat twice a day. I'm definitely trying to do that as well. I hope this video comes out as good for people and it helps them understand where I'm coming from. yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. I mean, I could get into like commenting on them, but it wouldn't be helpful, I think. What would be helpful is just conveying the information and letting everyone basically learn from it. Alright, and I'll just end it here, guys. Remember, guys, stay with it.